Summer 2024. Paris Olympics. No Effects announcing their retirement. Ben and Jen, together again and divorced again. And Cookin' Meat's inaugural episode. Little did we know when we started this silly adventure how quickly Chef Pat would be thrust into stardom. Some would say it was an astronomical leap, a regular stay-at-home dad / private chef, to international sensation, cooking star. So to celebrate our success, we thought we'd hit the road and go see the country. Oh, America, how you inspire me. You never cease to amaze me with your natural wonders and your industrial spirit. But we had seen enough, and we decided to take Cookin' Meat International for the first time. So we headed to the border to spice things up, to find ourselves a little sub-war. But unfortunately, when we got there, we didn't know you needed a passport. So we started a long journey home. But on the flight back from Canada to Colorado, disaster. We were struck by a gaggle of geese, and we went down hard and landed on a barren, unnamed tropical island. It wasn't so bad until my Pennsylvania pipe stopped working. And then, after surviving the wicked sun for weeks, we hit dire straits when we lost our last pound of Christensen Ranch ground beef. At the end, when all seemed lost and I was ready to give in to the sand and the sun and the waves, the meat gods answered my prayers and sent the Lord and Savior of kitchens, Guy Fieri, in a little rowboat to come save me and whisked me back to the Cookin' Meat studio. And now, we're here.
Wow. I can't believe that really happened either. But we survived, and now we're back to bring you the dumbest, the meatiest, the biggest season 2 of any cooking show you've ever seen. Season 1 being our first season, we had a few missteps. Sometimes I was a little bit misunderstood, but this season it's gonna be different. We're gonna class it up a little bit. Season 2 starts right now. Here we go, Meatheads, season 2. Pretty simple, basic recipe, one that we eat all the time, especially in the fall. We're gonna do St. Louis style ribs with a maple glazed chili sweet potato. There's a couple different kinds of ribs. Baby back ribs are closer to the spine and a little bit shorter and meatier. Spare ribs go about further out to the rib cage, so they're bigger and you usually have some cartilage at the end. St. Louis style ribs are spare ribs that just kind of cut that little cartilage piece off. If you have rib tips, that's usually what they got rib tips for. But we have just this beautiful St. Louis style pork rib rack. When you get ribs, you always got to check to see if there's a little bit of like a membrane of silver skin on the back, because that doesn't cook down. We checked this one and I think it came already pre-membrane. So that saves us one step. But if you do have to do it, you just take a little butter knife, get it loose, grab it with a paper towel so it doesn't slip, and then just peel it right off. It comes off super easy. Lots of different ways to cook ribs. My favorite way is to cook them in a smoker. You smoke them low and slow for hours and hours. It breaks down the meat, adds that smoke flavor. You can season it, and it's really, really good. So if you get a nice rack of ribs like this and you love that smoky flavor, just like my grandpappy always said, smoke them if you got them. We don't have a smoker, so we're gonna cook them in the oven. So next, we're gonna be making our world famous Cookin' Meat rub, used for barbecue, chickens, roasts. We use it for a lot of stuff. We use it for pretty much everything. So it's the Cookin' Meat mix. Like we always do, we're gonna do this in parts. We'll put a ton of seasoning. We start off with Redmond's Real Mineral Salt. It's the best salt for meat. And we'll do 2 parts of salt. It's 1 part, 2 parts, 25 cranks of fresh cracked pepper, equal to about 1 part of this spoon. 25. There's got to be an easier way to do this, Ricky. You're gonna add 1 part of seasoning salt. You pick your preference of seasoning salt. Good. 1 part of garlic powder, as is tradition in the Cookin' Meat kitchen. I've missed you guys. This is so much fun. I have missed cooking for the meatheads. 1 part of onion powder, cebolla en polvo, for our Latino viewers. 1 part paprika. Do 1 part of chili powder. Wasn't opened. Ricky, try to do the show! And 1 part of chili powder. So then we're gonna add 1 part of the Cajun 2-step fire. Fucking try this one. Mix it into your rubs and stuff. It is fire. Cajun 2-step fire. Give it a little heat. We're gonna do like a 1/2 part of oregano. We don't need a ton of oregano. So probably a 1/2 part of oregano. Sugar and ribs go very well together. Adding a little bit of sweetness to your rub is a good thing. It's gonna really bring out that porky flavor. You can use white sugar. People sometimes use molasses and kind of make it like a wet rub, but I'm gonna do a dry rub and we're gonna use brown sugar because I think personally, brown sugar and pork, just a 1/2 part of brown sugar. Oh, look at that beautiful color. You want it looking like that. We're gonna preheat our oven to 220 degrees. All right, we're gonna cook this low and slow for 6 hours. 220 degrees exactly. Not 221, not 219, 220. All right, so we're bringing it over here and we're gonna pull our beautiful rack of ribs and we're gonna start to season our meat. Like always, you wanna have a meat hand and a seasoning hand. Meat hand touches the meat and doesn't touch anything else. One hand touches the seasoning and nothing else, so you can touch a bunch of stuff and you're not gonna spread any fucking diseases around. We're gonna put a generous helping of seasoning on this meat. So hold on to your butts, ye fellow white people. This is gonna blow your mind. Stick with me, because it's gonna taste amazing. I like to season the back ribs first. If you see this portion of meat, that's more meaty than anything. There's not a lot of meat on this part. This is basically just like the back of the bone. Seasoning hand up high, because they get a nice spread of seasoning rather than doing it down here and you're just gonna get a tiny little line of seasoning. And that's pretty good for the back. So we'll take our meat hand, kind of just pat it in there. We're not putting any oil, if you notice. We're not using oil, and you can see it is a fatty cut of meat. There's tons of fat. That fat will render out and kind of make its own natural lubrication. Get your meat from a real butcher. This side is the side we're really gonna season. Don't be afraid of just piling it on there, because the meat in the middle of this is not gonna get seasoned directly, so we kind of have to compensate a little bit on the outside. If you're making ribs at home, when you're looking at it, you're like, that is a fucking ton of seasoning. And it is a ton of seasoning. We're not seasoning the middle of the rib. So look at that. I mean, that is pretty dang seasoned. We got this leftover world famous cooking meat rub, so we'll go ahead and save this for season 3. So we're gonna take a meat hand and we're gonna just pat this all in. I'm not 100% certain, but I think that they're called spice rubs because you rub it into the meat and then you rub one out after you eat. Did you get that? New cooking meat slogan. And look at that. That is beautiful. Make sure you're always washing your hands, meathead. You touch stuff, wash your fucking hands, dude. You know what you've done with those hands. You know where those hands have been. I do. So this is what I like to do if you just don't want to waste stuff. You can see that there's a little bit of seasoning along the sides. Pat the sides down like this. Get that side and we'll get this side too. All right. Yeah. You don't need to wipe it up if you really don't want to. All that fat is gonna render out in the pan. It's not gonna stick or burn or anything like that. It's gonna be fine. It'll just clean right up. I've done this a million times. Just trust me. Just stick with me for just listen to me one time, please. Okay. My personal feelings about pork ribs. They should not be literally fall off the bone. If I go to pick up a rib and I grab the bone and I lift it up and I just have the bone, I'm fighting something. If I have to pick up just a little limp piece of meat like a buffoon, I don't care who cooked it. Mom, I'm fighting. Ask Grandpappy. Fucking Grandpappy, I swear to fucking. So, you don't want to overcook it. I have come up with the perfect temperature and the perfect amount of time to perfectly cook this perfect rack of ribs the perfect way. What we will get is soft, tender, delicious meat that can be pulled off the bone, not fall off the bone. Then you'll be able to grab your nice little rib and use your little rib holders and your little rib like a typewriter and get your little corns and get your little potatoes and little meal. Let's keep going. We're gonna go ahead and throw our rack of ribs, perfectly seasoned rack of ribs. Thank you very much. Center rack, bam. And we're just gonna set a timer for 6 hours exactly. 6 hours. So we'll check back in 6 hours. Actually, we'll check back in like 4.5 or 5.5, and we're gonna make our side dish for our ribs. So we'll see you back here, meatheads, in a little bit. 6 hours or so. All right. Here we are 5.5 hours later. Nap time is over. And let me tell you, meatheads, it has been a day. I found a grill on the street. So look out for some brand new episodes coming. Grill and Meats episodes. Oh, I found a caterpillar and then I lost the caterpillar. Finally got around to answering all the fan mail. Well, I thought it was fan mail. Turns out people really don't like this show. But hey, that's show business for you, all right? Some of them were pretty harsh though. I'm very excited about the grill. Really bummed about the caterpillar. But we're gonna move on, all right? I'm very excited to introduce a brand new cooking tool for season 2. Introducing Super Peeler. Yeah. It's really big. Now we're gonna peel this sweet potato. It's gonna be our side dish. We're gonna make a maple glazed chili sweet potato. We're gonna mix it with maple syrup and chili powder. That's all we're really gonna do. Oh, look at Super Peeler on a roll. Mrs. Meat got me this as a present for Christmas. So, you know I have to use it, otherwise I will never see boobs again. All right, say goodbye to Super Peeler. Yeah, Super Peeler. It's just an oversized peeler. And another, Misses. Oh. Introducing a brand new sponsor, Knife Saga Knives. Japanese knives from Japan. High carbon stainless steel, designed in New York. One of our new sponsors. We're gonna be using these knives throughout season 2 to see how they hold up with all of Chef Pat's hectic and frantic and rough cooking. We're not gonna be easy on these knives at all. We're gonna put them through the ringer, through the test. First off, whew, that was pretty good. So we're going to dice up this sweet potato. Sweet potatoes, oh yeah, these knives are pretty good. There's a lot of ways to do a lot of things. Cut them in little chunks, cut them in plates like this so they're all flat and mostly even. And then you give them a couple of one of these, and then you give them a couple of one of these. So we're gonna dice these up. Trying to get them all about the same size and shape isn't really that important as far as looks goes. You do wanna have them kind of even for cook time. If you have a piece of sweet potato that's like this big, and we have a piece of sweet potato that's like this big, the little guy is gonna cook first. The other one's not gonna be cooked enough when we pull it out, or the little guy's gonna get burned because we cooked it too far. These knives are sharp. Oh, we should be getting our pan hot too. I remember this time. We started getting the pan warm. And this is a very easy side dish too. Sweet potato and pork, just like brown sugar and pork, they just go well together. Most times when I cook pork chops or pork ribs, I usually have a sweet potato as a side. Regular potatoes are great too. Rice is great, or whatever starchy side you like. But I just think that sweet potato goes so well with the savory pork, huh? We got our pan starting to get warm. We're gonna put about that much. We're not just coating the pan, we're gonna coat all of the sweet potato too. We're gonna kind of render this down into oil and then toss it in the pan and do it all in the pan. So we're just gonna wait till this renders down, and you can see how it's turning into oil? Ooh, hear that sizzle. Trying to get an even coat. We're gonna put 2 seasonings on there. We're gonna put salt and chili powder. No black pepper. I think that's just a preference for me. I just don't like the taste of black pepper on sweet potatoes. But if you do, you can knock yourself out. We're gonna put a little salt. Gotta have some salt. Salt and maple syrup. Salty, syrupy, sweet. Then we're gonna put on some chili powder. A nice, healthy serving of chili powder. Maple syrup. The good stuff. Real maple syrup. Don't use the fake stuff. If it's high fructose corn syrup with maple flavoring, it's not gonna cook the same way. It's gonna be all funky. Now, maple syrup. And then we're gonna give it a little toss. You can smell it. You can just smell the chili powder mapley flavor. Yeah, that's pretty evenly coated. We got some good flavor on there. That maple syrup is gonna deglaze perfectly. And we are just gonna throw this in the oven. All right, we'll just give that about 20 minutes and we should be good to go. Alrighty, ribs are just about done. We're gonna pull them out. Oh yeah, baby, look at those beautiful things. You can always tell that it's been cooked for a while because the meat rides up on the bone like that. So these are gonna be perfect. Sweet potatoes got another 5 minutes, so we're gonna wait for those. Since this is cooked all the way through, we don't have to let it rest or anything. I mean, you could really slice it up right now. You might wanna wait a few minutes because it's gonna be very hot and burn your fingies. So we'll give this a second just to cool off, and then we'll slice it up into a couple ribbies. So pull this out, look at how easy that pulls off, dude. Just super tender. It's very good. Meatheads, all you soakers, when you do dishes, all you guys that love to soak the dishes, this one's for you. This stuff right here is like crusted on there. If you just try and take a sponge and hot water and try and take it off, it's gonna be such a pain in the butt. Let it soak for a few hours overnight. You can wipe it off with practically a paper towel. So get yourself a nice sheet pan for all your meat cooking. This is cooled off for a few minutes. So we're gonna take, whoa, look at the back of that. We're gonna take our knives and we can just follow the bones and cut them out individually like that. You can already just tell how super tender those ribs are. These are great ribs. Most barbecue places that you go to in Colorado are serving spare ribs or St. Louis style ribs, either one. I'm a sauce on the side guy. If you want to do that, when I make Mrs. Meat ribs, this is the way she likes it. The exact same way, except now what I will do is I'll take the whole rack to the grill and I'll glaze it with barbecue sauce. It doesn't cook all the way in. I don't like to spend 6 hours of barbecue sauce cooking into the meat. That's just not the way I like to do it. I like to taste the meat, but a little barbecue sauce on the side, just dip it in, perfect. So let's get our sweet potatoes. You can see all that maple syrup starting to just glaze these things over. Oh yeah, oh yeah. A little bit of this maple glazed sweet potatoes. This is great fall food. Sweet potatoes, ribs, a little barbecue sauce. So let's take this one. Look at that. Just beautiful, perfect rib. 6 hours, 220 degrees. It is foolproof. Maybe one day when we do another barbecue thing, I'll make my own barbecue sauce for you guys. For now, we're just gonna use a store-bought because it's been a long day and I'm pretty sure you have barbecue sauce in your fridge. Also, trying to get that grill off the street was taxing. So I'm a barbecue sauce on the side guy. I will put it right here. All right, that is a full meal right there. What a fall delicacy. I can hold the bone, wiggle it around, meat still on there. Watch what happens when I take a bite. Pull off the bone cooked. That is the best way to have, in my opinion, to have a rib. You see, It honestly doesn't even need barbecue sauce, dude. That is so good. All that extra seasoning makes its way to the meat in the middle. So even though it looks like we put a ton of seasoning on there, it's perfectly seasoned. All the fat next to bones, you can see all that grease. That grease cuts with all that salty. You put it with a little sweet with the barbecue sauce. Well, yeah, dude. That's perfect. If I get a rib and I do this and pull this out and all the meat's just there and just like just a lump of sad, I'm leaving the barbecue. I'm not coming back. I'm taking Grandpappy with me. All right, so let's see about these sweet potatoes. Salty, a little spicy, a touch of sweet from that brown sugar, but mostly salty and spicy and savory. You add this, which is sweet from the sweet potato, sweet from the maple syrup. Got a little chili powder just to add that spice to it. This is a complete meal. If you want, you can add a little coleslaw on the side. You can add macaroni salad, potato salad, and these ribs, I'm telling you, if you want these kinds of ribs, you don't have a smoker and you want to do them in the oven and you got 6 hours to kill, this is the way to do it. Pull off the bone. Meatheads, it is so good to be back. I've missed you. The thought of coming back to the Meatheads was all that was keeping me going on that island. On the dark nights, the cold rain and the thunder, hiding under my palm trees, burying my toes in the sand so the crabs didn't get them, praying every night to the meat gods for salvation. Thank you, Guy Fieri. It was all for you to come back here now for a great season 2. Welcome back, Meatheads. It's good to be home.